Hi everyone, today we will be discussing about QSAR. So what is the abbreviation for QSAR? It stands for Quantitative Structure Activity Relationships. It is Quantitative Structure Activity Relationship. As the name says, it is something related to structure and activity. It is a relation between the structure of a chemical moiety. It is a relation between the structure of a chemical moiety and its activity. So this will be studying under quantitative structure activity relationship. As rightly said, QSAR is a mathematical relationship between a biological activity of a molecular system and its geometric and chemical characteristics. You have a chemical moiety and it has got some geometry as well as it has some chemical characteristics. So what we are trying to relate it with? We are trying to relate it with biological activity. We are trying to relate the structural and chemical characteristics with biological activity using a mathematical relationship. So this is QSAR. QSAR is a mathematical relationship between a biological activity of a molecular system and its geometric and chemical characteristics. QSAR attempts to find consistent relationship between biological activity and molecular properties. What is QSAR attempting to find, or what is the purpose of doing QSAR studies? We are trying to find a consistent relationship between, the relationship is mathematical in the equation form. We are trying to find a relationship between biological activity and molecular properties. So after finding a relationship between the biological activity and molecular properties, there will be some rules formulated. And these rules will be helpful in an evaluation of activity of new compounds. These rules will be applicable for the evaluation of activity of new compounds. Example, we have some new compound and for that we need to predict its activity, whether that ligand or the new molecule has got some biological activity or not. So what we do is we go for QSAR studies. We take some molecules and we study their structural components and their chemical characteristics, and we try to find their experimental biological activity values. The literature will give their experimental biological activity. So using the chemical characteristics and molecular properties, having a knowledge of biological activity, we define some rules, and these rules will be helpful in the evaluation of activity of new compounds. And these statistical methods, the QSAR is basically dependent on some statistical methods like regression methods. It is a statistical approach. So what is QSAR at a quick glance? QSAR is a mathematical relationship between biological activity of a chemical molecule with its geometric and chemical characteristics. QSAR attempts to find consistent relationship between biological activity and molecular properties, and after finding a consistent relationship there will be laid some fundamental rules. So according to these rules we can evaluate the efficiency or activity of new compounds. So this is the whole purpose of studying QSAR. As we said, QSAR general mathematical form is represented in the following equation. What is that we said? We are trying to find the relationship between biological activity and chemical properties or physical properties of a molecule or a ligand. So in a simple sense, the QSAR can be defined as biological activity is a function of physicochemical properties. Biological activity is a function of physicochemical properties. So this was a brief definition and a very simple equation suggesting a relationship between biological activity and physicochemical property of a molecule. And what is the objective of QSAR studies? What are the objectives of QSAR studies. We'll go one by one. QSAR, it attempts to correlate structural, chemical, statistical and physical properties with the biological activity by various approaches. Forget about approaches as of now. Just try to remember what is the QSAR doing. It tries to correlate structural, chemical, statistical and physical properties. These are something related to chemical moiety. So using a mathematical equation, we will be trying to find the structure, chemical and physical properties with the biological activity. As we said, biological activity is a function of physico-chemical properties. Next, QSAR models are scientific credible tools for predicting and classifying biological activity of untested molecules. As we said, based on the earlier literature, we get to know that some specific ligands have some structure and some chemical properties. So these ligands having some specific structure and some specific chemical properties, we will also try to find what is the biological activity. Why? Because they will be given in the earlier literature. So after finding the relationship between the chemical properties or the physico-chemical properties and its biological activity, we will try to find we'll try to lay some rules. So according to these rules, we can classify or we can predict the activities of new molecules. We can predict the biological activity of untested chemicals or new chemicals, one and the same. So first thing is, QSAR tries to correlate structural, chemical, statistical and physical properties with biological activity. Another thing is, these QSAR tools or QSAR models will help in predicting the biological activity of untested molecules. Next, QSAR is an essential tool for lead development. As we said, when we are studying docking methods, how did we define lead molecule or hit molecule? The molecule which stand out of the crowd, like which have the good binding affinity with the receptor and which have got good physico-chemical properties, and those molecules will have a priority for acting as a drug molecule in the biological assays. So the molecules which are ranked top in docking methodology, we call it as lead molecules. Means they have some good physico-chemical properties and good pharmacokinetics and good binding affinities with the target receptor. So these molecules have a greater chance of being used as a drug. So the molecules which are in a stage of being modified to a drug, these are called lead molecules or hit molecules. So QSAR is an essential tool for lead development or optimization. We can optimize its structure. Suppose we have a lead molecule for which it has an activity on the protein for which its IC50 value, that is inhibition concentration at 50%, is around 100 nanomolar. So based on QSAR studies, we can modify the structure of that lead so that at 50 nanomolar it will be active. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to optimize its structure. We need to add some groups, we need to delete some groups so that its activity will be increased. So lesser concentration, greater will be the activity, is the whole purpose of QSAR. So we should modify a lead molecule in such a way that at lesser concentration it should have good activity. So QSAR is an essential tool for lead optimization. Next, QSAR studies will likely eliminate those chemicals which are lacking drug-like properties and those which are predicted to elicit a toxic response. So based on QSAR studies, we can categorize the ligands as those of one category belongs to the molecules which are capable of forming drugs, which are capable of acting as drugs and which are not having any properties of drug. So there will be two categories based on QSAR studies. One category is drug like, the another category is non-drug like. So we can categorize the ligands, and another thing is we can also find whether the given molecule has any toxic response. We can predict whether the given molecule will produce a toxic response. So these are the some of the objectives related to QSAR. Quickly we'll have a look at it. So QSAR correlates structural, chemical, statistical, physical properties with biological activity. Another thing is they will help in QSAR models will help in predicting and classifying biological activities of untested molecules. So tested molecules we do not have to perform any study, but for untested molecules QSAR models will be helpful in predicting their biological activities. So another thing is QSAR is essential tool for lead development or lead optimization. And then the last one is QSAR will help to eliminate those molecules which do not have drug-like properties or the ligands which have toxic response. So these are some of the objectives of QSAR. And now the QSAR completely it depends on molecular descriptors. The QSAR equations or regression equations, they will be dependent on molecular descriptors. And what is a molecular descriptor? So we'll define molecular descriptors are the numerical values associated with the chemical constitution. Suppose a chemical has some groups and it has some chemical constitution. So for this chemical constitution, what is the numerical value? They will be given some numerical value. They will be allotted some numerical values, and these numerical values will be helpful in correlation of chemical structure with various biological activities. These numerical values will be helpful in correlating chemical structure with various chemical properties or biological activity. So these are called as molecular descriptors. Molecular descriptors are nothing but they are the numerical values. They are the numerical values associated with chemical constitution for correlating chemical structure with various physical properties, chemical reactivity or biological activity. Now we can also redefine QSAR as a simple equation, that is response or activity or property or toxicity. These are very much similar. Biological response or biological activity are one and same, some property or some toxicity profile. These attributes can be defined as a function of information in the form of chemical structure. Response or activity or property or toxicity is a function of information in the form of chemical structure, and which is also equal to function of descriptors. As we said, the complete QSAR studies, the equations will be dependent on descriptors. These descriptors are nothing but some structural features. They are some structural features. They may be electronic features, they may be physicochemical parameters, they may be steric parameters, they may be some topological parameters, and all these parameters come under various categories of descriptors, and these descriptors are useful in defining QSAR equation. So as we said, response or activity or property or toxicity is a function of information in the form of a chemical structure, and this information is available in the form of descriptor. The information is available in the form of descriptors. So directly you can say that response or activity is a function of descriptors. Response or activity is a function of descriptors. And so QSAR is completely dependent on descriptors, and according to your syllabus you have some physicochemical descriptors we will be studying one by one, and before that we will be seeing what are the different types of descriptors used in QSAR studies. So these descriptors can be classified as physicochemical descriptors, chemical descriptors. Under this we find hydrophobic, steric, electronic. Physicochemical descriptors we find hydrophobic, steric, electronic. Next, structural descriptors based on frequency of occurrence of a substructure. Structural descriptors, it is based on frequency of occurrence, means how frequently it is found in a molecule or it is found in a ligand. So that substructure, it comes under structural descriptors. The next category of descriptors are topological descriptors, electronic descriptors. These are based on molecular orbital calculations. And the next one is geometric descriptors, which are based on the surface area calculations. Geometric descriptors are based on surface area calculations. And next one is simple indicator parameters. They are called dummy variables. So you just have to remember these names, but according to your syllabus, physicochemical descriptors are to be focused on. So what are the different types of descriptors? Physicochemical, structural, topological, electronic, geometric, and simple indicator parameters. So out of these, physicochemical descriptors have been given due importance in your syllabus. So what are these physicochemical descriptors? We'll study one by one. The first one is hydrophobic parameters. As you know, what is hydrophobicity? Dislike of water, something which is disliking water. Phobic means fear. Disliking of water. Hydrophobic means it should be lipid loving. Hydrophobic means it must be lipid loving and it should be water disliking. So under this hydrophobic parameters, the first descriptor is partition coefficient. We have already studied what is partition coefficient. It can be represented as P and the logarithmic form is log P. And the relative affinity, how is it defined? It is the relative affinity of a drug molecule for an aqueous or lipid medium. Is important for drug's activity because absorption, transportation, excretion are dependent on partitioning phenomena. Just for a simple example, take any drug and in the medicinal chemistry lab or organic lab, take any drug molecule, make it a powder, and then use a solution of water and octanol in a separating funnel. Use a solution of equal concentrations of octanol and water in a separating funnel. Then add this drug powder to the separating funnel and vigorously shake it, relieving the gas intermittently, and then at the final stage these two and keep it undisturbed for a while, and then after some time you find that the two layers separate, and then separate these two layers into two different beakers and analyze the concentration of drug in each layer. So you will be finding the drug molecule, some concentration will be in the octanol phase and some concentration will be in the water phase. So by doing this, we will try to find what is the partition coefficient for this given drug. So, and why does this partitioning occur? Why? Because the drug has some affinity for the hydrophobic region, as well as the drug has some affinity for the hydrophilic region. So based on its affinity, the drug will be partitioned into aqueous or lipid medium. So what is partition coefficient? It is the relative affinity of a drug molecule for an aqueous or lipid medium, is important for the drug's activity. Because of this partitioning effect only, the drug can pass through several biological media and execute its action, and for this, because the drug needs to be absorbed it needs to be transported, it needs to be excreted. These are the phenomena which are dependent on partitioning. These are the phenomena which are dependent on partitioning. So partition coefficient plays an important role in the drug's activity. It's drug transportation, drug absorption, drug excretion. So how do we define partition coefficient? Partition coefficient is nothing but C octanol by C water in the brackets. C is nothing but the concentration of the drug in the octanol layer by divided by concentration of the drug in water layer. As you can see, C, it is octanol is a concentration of solute in the lipid phase, N-octanol, and C aqueous is the concentration of the solute in the aqueous phase. And here you can see, by doing this you can analyze the drug is lipophilic or hydrophilic. If the partition coefficient value is greater than 1, they are lipophilic or hydrophobic. If the partition coefficient value is greater than 1, it is lipophilic or hydrophobic, and for which the partition coefficient is less than 1, they are found to be hydrophilic. The most widely used molecular descriptor to encode this property is the logarithm of the partition coefficient. As we said, we can just use P or log P. So the logarithmic form of a partition coefficient is log P between octanol and water. Between octanol and water. Log P can be computed based on atomic or fragmental contributions and various correction factors, and several such algorithms like C log P. What is C log P? Calculated log P. Calculated log P. A log P. A log P is nothing but partition coefficient. Here also log P is partition coefficient. Here it is C log P. Calculated log P, and here A log P is also a partition coefficient, which is a ratio of a compound's concentration in octanol to its concentration in water when the phases are at equilibrium. This is important. When the phases are at equilibrium. When the phases are at equilibrium, we use the term A log P, and this is just calculated log P. This is just calculated log P. So here the Hans equation for calculating log P is dependent on several fragment factors. It is dependent on several fragment factors and several correction factors. Hans equation for calculating log P is dependent on several fragment factors and several correction factors. And why does this occur? Because of intramolecular interactions such as electronic, steric, hydrogen bonding effects. And why do we have to go for fragment factors and correction factors? Why? Because there will be some intramolecular interactions. There will be some intramolecular interactions such as electronic, steric, and hydrogen bonding effects. So according to Hans equation, log P is equal to sigma AI Fi plus sigma Bj Fj. And what are these AI Fi and Bj Fj? Where Fi stands for fragment factors, Fi stands for fragment factors, and Fj stands for correction factors. Fi stands for fragment factors, Fj stands for correction factors. The contribution for each fragment Fi, the contribution for each fragment Fi is multiplied with occurrence of that fragment Ai. Ai is occurrence of a factor and Fi is the fragment factor, and Fj is the correction factor, and Bj is the number of instances of that correction, number of instances of correction. As you can see here, it is number of instances of the correction in this structure, so that stands for Bj. So by employing this equation you can find out log P value. This is Hans equation. So that was the first parameter under hydrophobicity. What was it? It was partition coefficient, that is estimation of log P value. It can be calculated log P, C log P, or A log P. A log P is done at equilibrium. and the equation we are using to find Hans equation is log P is equal to sigma AIFI plus sigma BJFJ, where AI is the occurrence of a fragment and Fi is the fragment factor, Bj is the occurrence of instance of correction factor, and Fj is the correction factor. Next, hydrophobic constituent constant, hydrophobic constituent constant, that is indicated as pi. The partition coefficient is indicated by P. The hydrophobic substituent constant is indicated by pi. Hydrophobicity is the association of non-polar groups or molecules in an aqueous environment. As you can see in practice, when you take a bowl in which water is filled and immediately on this water layer you drop 2 drops of oil, the oil will not be dispersed, it will not be dispersed, it will not be solubilized, but it will gather at one point. Why? Because of hydrophobicity. The hydrophobic groups will try to aggregate at one point. So hydrophobicity is the association of non-polar groups or molecules in an aqueous environment, which arises from the tendency of water to exclude non-polar molecules. This statement is very clear, no need of any explanation. The hydrophobicity of the compounds in the series can be represented on a relative scale with the hydrophobic substituent constant pi. What is pi? Hydrophobic substituent constant. And how do we find the hydrophobic substituent constant pi? Pi x is equal to log px minus log pH. And what are these px and pH and pi x? We'll see. What is px? Px is the partition coefficient of the derivative. Partition coefficient of a derivative. Suppose you have a benzene ring. So if you take benzene ring as the parent compound and its derivative benzene, and to this is associated chlorine, that is chlorobenzene. So what is the derivative of benzene? Chlorobenzene. So now the partition coefficient of chlorobenzene is px and the partition coefficient of benzene is pH, and pi x is the difference in the partition coefficient. So now px is the partition coefficient of the derivative and pH is the partition coefficient of the parent compound. The variable pi x expresses the variation in lipophilicity. What is that we are trying to find? The variation in lipophilicity which results when a substituent X replaces hydrogen. You have benzene, the molecular formula is C6H6. So what is the molecular formula for chlorobenzene? It is C6H5Cl, means we are removing a hydrogen atom and we are replacing it with chlorine. So here the substituent X is chlorine and H is the replaced atom. So the hydrophobic constant for a substituent can be represented by pi x is equal to log px minus log pH. Here you understand very clearly using an example. For example, the value of chloro substituent pi Cl is the difference between the partition coefficient values of chlorobenzene and benzene. As another example, one may note that the log p value for benzene and benzamide are the log p value for benzene, it is a parent compound, and benzamide is its derivative. For benzene it is 2.13 and for benzamide it is 0.64. So now if we substitute these values in pi CONH2, CONH2 is the substituent. So it must be log p of benzamide minus log p of benzene. We have got the values for log p, it is 2.13, and we have got the log p value for benzamide, it is 0.64. So if we subtract 0.64 minus 2.13, then it will be minus 1.49. So here, what is the significance of this pi substituent, pi value of a substituent? Here you can see the significance. A positive value of pi indicates that the substituent is more hydrophobic than hydrogen. A positive value of pi is likely to be hydrophobic, and a negative value indicates the group is hydro, and the less or the negative value indicates that it is less hydrophobic, means it must be hydrophilic, more hydrophilic. Less hydrophobic is nothing but more hydrophilic. So you know that amides are polar groups. So obviously benzamide should be more polar than benzene. And as the equation also suggests that the substituent value pi amide is minus 1.49, it means that the lipophilicity imparted by the CONH2 group is less compared to parent compound, that is benzene. So this is the equation. Pi x is equal to log px minus log pH. So this is the another parameter under hydrophobicity. So first one was partition coefficient under hydrophobicity. Under hydrophobic parameters, the first one was partition coefficient. The next one is hydrophobic substituent constant pi, and the next one is hydrophobic fragment constant. Here we define the hydrophobic fragment constant of a substituent or molecular fragment represents lipophilicity contribution of that molecular fragment. What does it define? It imparts lipophilicity contribution. That can be represented as F dash. So three parameters under hydrophobic parameters. One is partition coefficient, next one is hydrophobic constituent constant pi, and another one is fragment lipophilicity, hydrophobic fragment constant. So these are some of the parameters under hydrophobic parameters. So next are electronic parameters. So that was about hydrophobic parameters, which involved, the first one was partition coefficient or log P, the second one was hydrophobic substituent constituent pi, and the last one was hydrophobic fragment constant F prime. So those were the three parameters we need to study, or the constant we need to study under hydrophobic parameters. Next, coming to electronic parameters. The electronic parameters mainly indicate the influence of polar character. That was about hydrophobic character or lipophilic character. Now we will be studying about polar character. Obviously a drug has some polar characteristics and some non-polar characteristics. We have used some equations for defining its non-polar characteristics influence on its biological activity, and now we will study about the polar characteristics influence on drug activity. So here we define electronic parameters mainly indicate the influence of polar character of the drug on its biological activity. Influence of polar character of the drug on its biological activity. The first one under electronic parameters is acid dissociation constant. You know that acid dissociation constant can be said as Ka. Ka is nothing but acid dissociation constant. When you take an acid Ha, acid is generally represented as Ha. When it ionizes, it gives H plus and A minus. It gives proton H plus plus A minus. So the dissociation constant of an acid can be defined as A minus concentration into H plus ion concentration divided by Ha concentration. So an important whole molecular parameter defining electronic nature of the tested molecule is the acid dissociation constant. And how is this acid dissociation constant defined? Ka is equal to A minus into A minus concentration into H plus ion concentration divided by Ha concentration. So where A minus is the conjugate base of the acid, we have studied earlier, and H plus is the proton. The negative logarithm of pKa, the negative logarithm of pKa is used for modeling purposes. For molecular modeling studies, the negative logarithm of Ka is used, that is pKa, and pKa can be defined as minus log Ka to the base 10, minus log Ka to the base 10. pKa value is nothing but minus log Ka or minus log Ka to the base 10. So using this equation, we can define, if we substitute the logarithmic values, it gives Henderson-Hasselbalch's equation, Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. So it defines pKa as pH minus log A minus concentration by Ha concentration. Why? Because this pH term is coming from H plus. The pH is, when pH is solved, when H plus ion concentration is solved, you get pH. So replace H plus ion concentration with, you can replace H plus ion concentration with pH. So finally pKa is equal to pH minus log A minus concentration by Ha concentration. This is Henderson-Hasselbalch's equation, where pH is a negative logarithm value of H plus ion concentration, negative logarithm value of H plus ion concentration. So you can replace H plus ion concentration term with pH in the equation, Henderson-Hasselbalch's equation, where we get the pK values, and pK values are more valuable in molecular modeling studies like QSAR studies. Why? Because they will be giving us information about the polar nature of a drug on its biological activity. This is a use of Ka value or acid dissociation constant. The next one is Hammett constant. Next parameter is, next descriptor is Hammett constant. When we were studying about hydrophobic parameters, we have studied hydrophobic substituent constant. Just now we have studied hydrophobic substituent constant, and how it is denoted? It is denoted as pi. Similarly, here we need to use electronic substituent constant. We need to find electronic substituent constant. And what is this electronic substituent constant called as? Hammett constant. Electronic substituent constant is Hammett constant. And how is this electronic substituent constant calculated? It is obtained from the rate constant of ionization reactions. It is obtained from rate constant of ionization reactions of meta and para substituted benzoic acid derivatives. You know benzoic acid, benzene ring with a carboxyl group is benzoic acid, and if you place any substituent at meta position and para position, they are called meta and para substituted benzoic acid. So for these molecules, the rate constants of ionization reactions, will be helpful in defining electronic substituent constant. What is Hammett constant? He proposed the electronic substituent constant from the rate constants of ionization reactions, of meta and para substituted benzoic acid. You must be wondering why ortho was not included. It was only meta and para substitution considered for defining Hammett constant, and why not ortho substituent? Why? Because there is a factor called steric factors. That is, when we substitute any group at ortho position, there are some steric factors which will be hindering with the observed rate constant. So there will be a predominant role of steric factors, so they are not involved in Hammett constant. So that steric factors we will be defining in the next part of this section. So as of now, Hammett constant, Hammett proposed the electronic substituent constant from the rate constants of ionization reactions of meta and para substituted benzoic acid. It can be defined as rho sigma. Rho sigma is the Hammett constant. Rho sigma is the Hammett constant. And sigma, as you can see, the sigma describes the electronic properties of aromatic substituent. Sigma reflects the electronic properties of aromatic substituents, in which rho sigma is equal to log k by k naught. And what are these k and k naught, and what is rho sigma? We will see. The parameter sigma describes the electronic properties of aromatic substituents. Electronic properties of aromatic substituents, that is what we are discussing. It is the electronic substituent constant, that is electron withdrawing or donating power. What are the electronic properties of substituents? It must be either electron donating or electron withdrawing. The substituent constant sigma reflects the intrinsic polar effect of a given substituent relative to hydrogen. Whether if we are suppose take benzene and substitute it at meta position with some polar group NH2. So here sigma will give an intrinsic polar effect of the substituent, whether the molecule becomes more polar or the molecule becomes less polar compared to hydrogen. If hydrogen is substituted with amine, does the molecule becomes more polar or less polar? Obviously amine, if it is replacing hydrogen atom, so amine being a polar group, it imparts hydrophilicity to the complete molecule. So that is defined by Hammett constant. This effect is independent of the reaction. The constant K naught refers to the rate constant for the unsubstituted compound. K naught refers to the ionization rate constant. Ionization rate constant for the unsubstituted compound. For our example, we took it as benzene. And K refers to the meta or para substituted congener. And suppose if we are substituting amine at meta position, its rate constant is defined by K, and if it was benzene, its rate constant is defined as K naught, and sigma is a Hammett constant, that is electronic properties of the aromatic substituent, that will be based on electron donating or electron withdrawing power. So now one of the limitation of Hammett constant is it does not hold for ortho substituent. This characteristic is known as ortho effect. Why? Because there will be some steric parameters we need to consider. Steric parameters. One of the limitation of Hammett constant usage is it does not hold for ortho substitution. It is only suitable for meta and para substitutions. So it has some limitation. So this limitation is called as ortho effect. So in order to overcome this ortho effect, Taft and Newman proposed a quantitative measure for separating the inductive influence of the substituent with its steric effect. Ortho only can show steric effect, but meta and para are very far, so that they do not exhibit any steric effect. So here in case of benzoic acid, so what was the correction done by Taft and Newman? The substituent constant, it was earlier sigma, now it becomes sigma star, is based on the rates of acid and base catalyzed hydrolysis of esters. Of the form XCH2COR. That can be defined as sigma star is equal to 1 by 2.48 into, these are constant, log K by K naught basic in minus log K by K naught acidic. The sigma star is the corrected form for the Hammett constant. Sigma star is equal to 1 by 2.48 into log K by K naught basic conditions minus log K by K naught acidic conditions, where X is equal to H, for K naught. Taft argued that sigma star should measure only the inductive influence of the substituent. And they have also tried to include inductive effect and resonance effects. You know what is inductive effect, and you also know resonance effect. When these inductive effect and resonance effects were quantified for electronic effects, the equations are sigma p It is para substitution. Sigma B means the para substitution. Sigma is equal to sigma I plus sigma R. It is not 1. Sigma I, that is because of the Hammett constant, because of inductive effect, and Hammett constant because of resonance effect. And sigma M, it means Hammett constant for meta substitution is equal to Hammett constant for inductive effect plus Hammett constant for resonance effect, and there is some alpha. Why? Because when you see a molecule of benzoic acid in meta position, there will not be any resonance effect. The electron availability is less. Less at meta position. So it has to be alpha sigma R. This is the difference between para and meta substitutions. So what was the hydrophobic substituent constant? It was phi, and here electronic substituent constant is sigma. They are very much alike. It holds good for polar molecules. Over there it holds good for non-polar molecules. And what was the equation? Rho sigma is equal to log k by k naught, where k is refers to the meta or para substituted molecule, and k naught refers to the unsubstituted molecule, rate constant for unsubstituted molecule. So you people have to go through this and write your notes and practice the equations. You will remember. And sigma P is equal to sigma I plus sigma R, where sigma M is equal to, whereas sigma M is equal to meta substitution sigma I plus alpha sigma R. And the next parameters we are going to study under this physico-chemical descriptors are steric parameters. So the next parameters are steric parameters. What is meant by steric? Steric is nothing but some bulkiness of a group. So these are steric parameters. In a homologous series of compounds, you know what is a homologous series? Like the alkane series, it is a homologous series. In a homologous series of compounds, as you know, it goes by difference of CH2. So that is a homologous series, and as the chain length is increasing, the bulkiness of the group will increase, and as the branching increases, the bulkiness will increase randomly. So in a homologous series of compounds, different biological activities for compounds are often related to the size of the substituent. So here in steric parameters, what we are trying to define, biological activities are related to size of the substituents. Size of the substituents are nothing but steric features or bulky features. So here bulky substituents can interfere with the intermolecular reactions. Bulky substituents can interfere with intermolecular reactions which lead to drugs activity. So under the steric parameters, the first steric parameter or the steric constant studied was Taft steric constant. Taft steric constant. So here who proposed that it is a measure of steric effects, that is substituent X, which was proposed, Taft steric constant, which was proposed as a measure of steric effects, that is substituent X will influence in acid catalyzed hydrolytic rate of esters. You know that the esters can be hydrolyzed by using acid. So if an ester is hydrolyzed in an acid, and what are these esters? These esters are of acetic acid. Acetic acid, when it forms an ester with ethanol, it forms an ester with any alcohol. So those esters, if they are hydrolyzed in acidic conditions, and what are the substituents present on those acetic acid derivatives? So this represents Taft steric constant, which was proposed as a measure of steric effects, that is substituent X in acid catalyzed hydrolytic rate of esters, acid catalyzed hydrolytic rate of esters in substituted acetic acid esters. The basic assumption says that it is the effect of X on acid hydrolysis. The effect of X on acid hydrolysis. Acetic acid esters. How does it look like? What is acetic acid? CH3, C double bond O, O, R. R is the R group. R will be the alcohol group. So, if you substitute an X on the ester moiety, that is acetic acid ester, and what is its influence on the acid hydrolysis and what is its bulkiness? Obviously, if you are substituting it with a X group, it must have some bulkiness. And what is its bulkiness effect on hydrolysis? We will be studying under Taft steric constant. While the Hammett equation, just now we have seen Hammett equation. In the Hammett equation, we were studying about the effect of inductive effect and resonance effect. How the inductive effect and resonance effect influences the ionization reaction rates. How they influence the ionization reaction rates. Here in Taft equation, what it describes is the steric effects of the substituent on hydrolytic rate constant in an acidic medium. Taft Hammett equation was signifying inductive and resonance effect on reaction rates, that is ionization reaction rates. And here Taft steric constant will describe the steric effect of a substituent on the hydrolytic reaction rate constant. And ES, it is defined as ES is equal to log KXA minus log KCH3A. This is KCH3 is methyl group. So log A minus log B is log A by B. You know the mathematical form. This is like log A and this is log B. So if you go for logarithms, log A minus log B is equal to log A by B. So here this can be rewritten as log Kx by KCH3 whole taken A. The subscript A is nothing but the subscript A denotes hydrolysis in acidic solution. It describes hydrolysis in acidic conditions. As we said, the Taft steric constant focuses mainly on acid hydrolysis. So we need to represent it as A. And what are Kx and KCH3? These are the rate constant, acid rate constant for hydrolytic reaction. When substituent is X, and when it is unsubstituted, X is equal to CH3. If a substituent is present, it is X, and if it is not present, it is CH3. So this is Taft steric constant. ES is equal to log Kx A minus log KCH3A. It is in the form of log A minus log B. So it can be rewritten as log A by B whole A. A is nothing but it signifies acid hydrolysis. Next one is, that was about Taft steric constant. So here what is the significance? The bulkier is the substituent, the more negative are the ES constant values. If bulkiness of the group is more, the group is large enough, then more negative will be the Taft constant. The group is more bulkier, more negative will be the Taft constant. That is the significance of ES in hydrolytic rate constant of acetic acid esters in acidic hydrolysis conditions. Next is Charton's steric parameter nu and van der Waals radius. So Charton found that Taft steric constant is linearly dependent on van der Waals radius. Why? Because he was saying that in Taft equation he was signifying the influence of steric effect. As the steric effect is increasing, means the group is becoming bulkier, obviously its radius will be increased. Obviously if the group is increasing, the radius will be increasing. So the van der Waals radius is also increased. So because of inclusion of this van der Waals radius, it is called as Charton steric parameter. So here it led to the development of Chorlton's steric parameter, which is nu x. So here Chorlton's steric parameter can be defined as nu x is equal to Rx minus RH. And what is Rx? Rx and RH are the minimum van der Waals radius of the substituent and hydrogen. RH is the van der Waals radius of the hydrogen, and Rx is the van der Waals radius of the substituent, and nu x, it is Chorlton's steric parameters, and Es is the Taft steric parameter, Taft steric constant Es. Hammett constant was sigma. Chorlton's steric parameter is nu x, and here what is Rx and RH? Rx is nothing but minimum van der Waals radius of the substituent, and RH is a van der Waals radius of the hydrogen, and RH van der Waals radius is constant, that is 1.20. So it can be defined as nu x is equal to Rx minus 1.20. So this is Chorlton's steric parameter. What he did was he has included the van der Waals radius into the equation. He is trying to incorporate van der Waals radius into the equation. Next is sterimol parameters. So why these sterimol parameters have come into play? Taft parameter was applicable for simple homogeneous organic reactions. Taft parameter was applicable to simple homogeneous organic reactions, whereas Verloop is the name of the scientist. Verloop's sterimol parameters for characterizing steric features of the substituent in more complex biological systems. So when do we use sterimol parameters? In complex biological systems, and Taft parameters is applicable only for simple homogeneous organic reactions, and sterimol parameters are useful for complex biological systems, steric features in complex biological systems. So here what are the sterimol parameters? Or they can be called as descriptors. They are set of 5. Try to remember, they are set of 5, and they are defined as L, B1, B2, B3 and B4. L is something related to length, and B is something related to breadth or width. So here what is L? L is length of the substituent along the axis of the bond between the first atom of the substituent and the parent molecule. Here by looking at the diagram you can clearly understand this is the molecule, this is the parent compound in which it has a substituent COOH carboxyl group. By looking at this diagram, if you go through what are the parameters L, B1, B4, you can just remember how are they significant in defining steric features of substituents in complex biological systems. So this is sterimol parameters. L is equal to length, that is of substituent along the axis of the bond between first atom of the substituent and the parent molecule, and width parameters B1 to B4 are all orthogonal, that is perpendicular to L. These are all perpendicular to L. Perpendicular means at an angle of 90 degrees. B1 has the smallest width and B5 has the largest width parameter. B1 has the smallest width and B5 has the largest width parameter, and which does not have any directional relationship with L. As you can see here, B4, B3, B4, B3, B1, B2 and B5. So next is under steric parameters, molar refractivity. What is molar refractivity? Molar refractivity MR is a molar volume corrected by refractive index. It represents the size and polarizability. Molar refractivity has something to do with polarizability. So here it represents the size, that is the bulky group. We are studying these parameters under steric effect, so size is important. It represents the size and polarizability of a fragment or a molecule. The molar refractivity is nothing but it is a molar volume corrected by refractive index. Molar volume corrected by refractive index. And what is the what is the equation? Molar refractivity is equal to n square minus 1 by n square plus 2 into molecular weight divided by density. So n is the refractive index. N is the refractive index, Mw is the molar or molecular weight, and D is the density of the compound. Density of the compound. So molar volume is nothing but the molar refractivity is nothing but the molar volume corrected by refractive index. What does it represent? It represents the size and polarizability of a molecule. Size and polarizability. The steric feature with polarizability. The steric features with its polarizability. Mr is equal to n square minus 1 by n square plus 2 into molecular weight divided by density. And the last parameter is paracore. Paracore. And what is this paracore? This is a whole molecular parameter defining steric nature. Paracore is nothing but it is a whole molecular parameter, whole complete molecular parameter defining steric feature, which can be derived by using the equation Pa. Paracore is defined as Pa is the fourth root of gamma into molecular weight by rho L minus rho V. What is this gamma? Gamma is nothing but surface tension. You have studied surface tension earlier in physical pharmacy. Gamma is the surface tension of the liquid, Mw is the molecular weight, and rho L is the density of the liquid, and rho V is the vapor state, density in vapor state. Paracore is nothing but it is a whole molecular steric parameter, and it is defined as Pa is equal to fourth root of gamma into molecular weight divided by rho L minus rho E, in which gamma is nothing but surface tension of the liquid, Mw is the molecular weight, and rho L is the density of the liquid, and rho V is the density of the vapor state. So we have studied briefly what is QSAR. QSAR gives a mathematical relationship between various physico-chemical properties or the structural parameters with their biological activities. So the simplest equation was the biological activity was a function of its structure, or function of its chemical properties. And we have seen what various descriptors which are useful in studying QSAR. So here the simplest equation was biological activity was a function of physico-chemical properties, and your syllabus includes only physico-chemical properties. Under physico-chemical properties you need to study hydrophobic parameters, which has partition coefficient, the hydrophobic substituent constant, and hydrophobic fragment constant. And next was electronic parameters. Under electronic parameters, dissociation constant, acid dissociation constant, and Hammett constant. Hammett constant, it gives information about the resonance effect and inductive effects in meta and para substituted compounds, and we have given some equations and the corrected values. And the steric parameters include the Taft steric constant. The next one was Charton steric constant, sterimol parameters, molar refractivity, and paracore. So this is all about QSAR, the physico-chemical parameters which are associated with QSAR studies.